Hello, friends. Welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. Thank you for joining me as we conclude yet another book in the Bible. We are in the NIV. We are in the book of Jeremiah. We are in chapter 52, and this is the very last chapter. Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, is the longest book in the Bible by word count, or second longest, I do believe. The longest in chapter is Psalms, because there's 150 of them. And then is Isaiah, which we've been to, which had 66 chapters. But Jeremiah is longest, I do believe, by word count, because he was very verbose. He's considered a major prophet. That's about volume, not importance. The Gentiles lorded over each other, and it must not be this way with you. Jeremiah chapter 52, the fall of Jerusalem. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king and reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. His mother was named Hamutal, 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 daughter of Jeremiah. She was from Libnah. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, just as Jehoiachin had done. It was because of the Lord's anger that all this happened to Jerusalem and Judah. And in the end, he thrust them from his presence. The land for worship of just him as the deity, following the Torah law. No rent paid. Eviction. Very violent eviction. The Babylonians were the repo men. Now Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. So in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, on the 10th day of the 10th month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, marched against Jerusalem with his whole army. So initially, they just had to pay taxes, but they could stay in place. Very practical. They camped outside the city and built siege works all around it. The city was kept under siege until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. So it's 2 years, or roughly. By the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine in the city had become so severe that there was no food for people to eat. Then the city wall was broken through, and the whole army fled. They left the city at night through the gates between the two walls near the king's garden, though the Babylonians, or Chaldeans, were surrounding the city. They fled towards the Arabah, or that is the Jordan Valley. Salt. Okay, Arabah. But the Babylonian, or Chaldean, army pursued King Zedekiah and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. All his soldiers were separated from him and scattered, so not grouped together at all. Every, man for himself kind of thing. And he was captured. He was taken to the king of Babylon at Riblah in the land of Hamath, where a sentence was pronounced on him. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. He also killed all the officials of Judah. Anybody who would stir a rebellion. Then put out Zedekiah's eyes, bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babylon, where he put him in prison until the day of his death. On the 10th day of the 5th month, in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard, who served the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. He set fire to the temple of the Lord, the royal palace, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every important building he burned down. The whole Babylonian army, under the commander of the imperial guard, broke down all the walls around Jerusalem, which is when we get into, it's like why in Ezra's about rebuilding the temple, Nehemiah was about rebuilding the walls, right? So Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, carried into exile some of the poorest people and those who remained in the city, along with the rest of the craftsmen, or populace, and those who had gone over to the king of Babylon. But Nebuzaradan left the rest of the poorest people of the land to work the vineyards and fields. Okay. The Babylonians broke up the bronze pillars, the movable stands, and the bronze sea that were at the temple of the Lord. They also carried all the bronze to Babylon. They also took away the pots, shovels, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, dishes, and all the bronze articles used in the temple service. The commander of the imperial guard took away the basins, censers, sprinkling bowls, pots, lampstands, dishes, and bowls used for drink offerings, and all that were made of pure gold or silver. It also makes sense. The bronze from the 2 pillars, the sea, and the 12 bronze bowls under it, and the immovable stands, which King Solomon had made for the temple of the Lord, was more than could be weighed. Each of the pillars had 18 cubits high and 12 cubits in circumference. That is about 27 feet or 8.1 meters high, and 18 feet or about 5.4 meters in circumference. It's particularly big, and when they say you could weigh them, remember in this case they're talking about literally scales where you put something on this side in grams, and you have weights that are on here to weigh what the cost of something would be. Okay, literally they don't have scales big enough to weigh this, because it was an entire support column for a building. Think of it as like they're doing what people do with copper in buildings when they're sealing them now so they could go melt them down. They're doing that with this entire building because the building pieces have been overlaid with the metal, and you need to destroy the building pieces to get the metal. You're going to melt the metal down. So, understanding. Okay. Each of the 4 fingers, each of the pillars weighed 18 cubits high and 12 cubits in circumference. Each was 4 fingers thick and hollow. So, like that thick and hollow. The bronze capital on the top of the pillar was 5 cubits high. That is about 7.5 feet or 2.3 meters. Particularly big. And was decorated with a network. And so, cross hatches. And pomegranates. The size, pomegranates of brass all around. Okay. On the other pillar, with its pomegranates were similar. There were 96 pomegranates on the sides, and a total number of pomegranates above the surrounding network was 100. So now just hold on a second. So this is a pomegranate. I'm a visual learner, so I just like to help other people. This is a pomegranate. So they had like a latticed work, network, like a crosshatch, and pomegranates, their shape, probably with leaves and flowers on them to make them look more pretty. But the flowers really come before the fruit. You have to, if you don't see the flowers, you're not going to get the fruit. And it takes them years before they flower. It's just like, a lot of other things. Some good things take time, right? but there were 96 of those. The total number of pomegranates above the surrounding network was 100. So 100 of those in another. The commander of the guard took as prisoners Sariah, the chief priest, Zephaniah, the priest next in rank, and the 3 doorkeepers, that's an official title, from given to certain people, certain families, of those still in the city. He took the officer in charge of the fighting men and the 7 royal advisors. So he took all the important people. He took the secretary, who was chief officer in charge of conscripting people of the land, and 60 of his men who were found in the city, so the people who would recruit resistance. Nebuzaradan, the commander, took them all and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. There at Riblah, in the land of Hamath, the king had them executed, so they wouldn't be able to rebel. So Judah went into captivity away from her land. This is the number of people Nebuchadnezzar carried into exile in the 7th year. 3,023 Jews. In Nebuchadnezzar's 18th year, 832 people from Jerusalem. So that's that's a bunch of people that were left there. In the 23rd year, 740 Jews taken into exile by Nebuzaradan, the commander of the imperial guard. There were 4,600 people in all. So, because they kept coming back. And you have to think with all that time in between, they were babies, which is probably what spurred them to come back. Jehoiachin released. In the 37th year of exile of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the year Evil Merodach, like literal, EVIL hyphen, MERODACH, D, also called a male Marduk, so somebody naming themselves after their pantheon deity, became king of Babylon. He released Jehoiachin, king of Judah, and freed him from prison on the 25th day of the 12th month. Oh, Christmas Day. He spoke kindly to him and gave him a seat of honor higher than those other kings who were with him in Babylon. So he raised him, his standing. So Jehoiachin put aside his prisoner clothes and for the rest of his life ate regularly at the king's table. Day by day, the king of Babylon gave Jehoiachin a regular allowance as long as he lived, until the day of his death. So he decided, this guy's been punished enough. He might not have been too fond of who was in charge before, because this, like any other noble family who is, lacking love and compassion for each other, because in a loving family, you don't get into the argument and think, I need to murder them. No, you don't. That's not normal. You don't even think about harming, you don't think about physically harming them, you're not, no. No, they're frustrating, and you might be like, I gotta go calm down or something, but let's hurt each other is not supposed to be the first response. So, but you also know from previous chapters that these are peoples where their own family is murdering them. And that's not any different from what was going on over in England and Scotland and, Ireland and, the Viking world, and because this is BC era people. It's a good thing that as we age, we're supposed to, heal. And I mean us as a species in its entirety. Remember, the end goal is for all of society to react to each other the way Jesus would react to us. So we're better than we were. We just still got a lot of work to do. We would not consider leaders who murder each other to be in power, to be generally accepted by the world at large. There'd be some political, world political uproar, certainly a social media uproar. So that's, as annoying as those things are, that is actually us being nicer as a society. Sad as that seems. But it does leave us with more hope. I hope you'll join me for the next video tomorrow, when we will start the book of Lamentations. Until then, friends.